Hey, Crazy Gamer fans, and welcome back to Crazy Gamer Games. Today we're gonna drift off of building and looking at models and things like that to move on to the new Citadel contrast paints. So, what do I think of the contrast paints? Well, let me show you what I've done with the contrast paints, and then we'll talk about how I feel. First, I'm gonna start off. My 11-year-old painted this guy right here. He's got that pox. I believe it's a Geller pox, but he's got some rust effects from the Grift Hound orange. He's got some of that black Templar contrast black for clothing, and then the overall green is that Poxwalker. Is the Poxwalker green? So that's that. Now, let's take a look at this one here. This is one of my new army for Sigmar, my Deepkin. This is one of my Namari thralls, and let's see if I can get that to focus better. You can see, I mean, he's colored and he looks pretty good, but you see a lot of the undercoat on these guys, and I don't know how I feel about that. I like the colors. The colors are nice, and when I was first doing this model, the I didn't care about I didn't care the way it looked at first. I didn't like the way the contrast paints went on. I didn't like how they dried, and on the flat areas they kind of coffee stained a little bit. But after I, did the whole model and went over a couple areas with the second coat, I'm not too disappointed in the way that it turned out. It turned out not bad. I mean, I think once I base this model with the water effects that I plan on doing, I think this is going to be a good model. And he maybe took 20 minutes, if that, not including drying time. Because it does take a little bit to dry. It takes a lot longer than the normal things. And I also tried one of their new base paints. This wraith bone. It's hard to see because it's white on white, but it's their undercoat that's supposed to be used for contrast. But I brushed it on because they recommended. She said you can do that, and this is what the model looks like brushed on. It's a little thick. I prefer to airbrush my base coat on, but that stuff doesn't airbrush well at all. It's too thick. Even thinning it down, I had to use a lot of airbrush medium instead of just thinner, and it just didn't cover. So with the Namari Thrall, I used a light ghost gray for my base coat because that is similar to their gray sear, the new base paint that they recommend putting under these contrast paints. But what I'm going to do is, this is my first video. I'm just going to make one more um, in another couple of days after I want to paint up this Electro Priest. I'm going to paint up some AdMech and things like that. And, a little bit of each army and do some more Death Guard for my son's army. And we're gonna see how it turns out. But so far, I'm not wowed or amazed by the contrast paints. Um, I'm pretty new to painting. I've only been painting about a year and a half, and you know, I like I like the way like my custodians turned out. My finished custodians. There's my finished custodian. I like the way he turned out, but there was a lot of time in this. I mean, it's not even like a premier paint job, and I put hours into it. You know, my whole custodian's army's got a lot of time put into it, and if I could do it faster. The only concern is there's no metal colors in here, and I want to mix up the contrast with some metals and see how that turns out with some metals underneath. But this is just a short video on my first thoughts on this contrast paint. I'm going to try to use all the colors. It's hard to tell what color's which. I'm thinking about spraying a sprue of just Skitari and painting a different item on there, a different contrast, so I know what they look like. But that's it for this video. Thank you for hearing my thoughts. For Crazy Gamer Games, I'm the Crazy Gamer. Have a great day.